A message to the international community, specifically the US, the UK, the European Union, Russia, and China. Let's start with the following introduction of this message. History has always repeated itself due to a simple fact, and that is that human beings are made up of strengths and weaknesses. This is also known as egos, which have been placed in every human being. It is in this mix of strengths and weaknesses that all problems start to occur. And it is our duty to try our best as humans to manage both these strengths and weaknesses in a positive manner to achieve positive results. As is clear to most of us, those who have been given power are expected to use this power positively and not negatively. Most important is, as long as we human beings are still alive, he or she has the opportunity to do well in all their actions. Decision making is what counts. So now the main question is, why can the UN and all its members not succeed in providing peace and prosperity to all the countries that have war or are in war? Now that is a big question mark. If the answer to this question is we are trying and we hope to succeed, and this answer did not save lives of innocent children, women and men, and also did not save the hope of the youth who are hoping for a better tomorrow. All the logistics, all the sophisticated logistics, all the money, all the technology has failed. Now, why would that happen? Peace and prosperity requires not only the will and intention, but the correct management. And most of all, the sincere intention plus management. You have failed in the eyes of all these innocent victims of war. That is a fact that has already taken place in history. As a citizen of Sudan, I am confirming to you, as an opinion based on clear facts, that you have failed as leaders of the UN. I am speaking of all the decision makers. With all the education and sophistication you have been blessed with, you have failed the call of those desperately in need for help. If you are not in a position to truly help, an SOS call from those desperate children and women in all the countries now in war, then it is best you resign immediately and let those who are able to manage with success and successful results to take over instead of you. Just ask yourselves, how many desperate human calls have you truly helped since the inception of the United Nations? That's after the Second World War. That's practically 74 years since 1945. Anyone who looks into history and researches thoroughly knows exactly that the UN has failed immensely and wasted a lot of money. This is a fact and not an assumption. On top of this, the global economy is in a massive state of misery, totally mismanaged. Every professional knows that, and most of the people do know that. We all know that the sovereign debts have reached approximately the equivalent of $250 trillion. And poverty rates are on a constant rise in every country. The IMF and the World Bank are also in a desperate economic situation. Figures and facts have confirmed. Now to come to the main point of this message. After the civil wars of Iraq, Syria, Libya, and Yemen, we are now witnessing at the possibility of an all-out civil war in Sudan. Should this happen, then the effects of this war will directly affect Sudan's 9 neighboring countries. That's Ethiopia, Eritrea, Egypt, Chad, Libya, Kenya, Central African Republic, Uganda, Congo-Kinshasa, and of course South Sudan, which is already in a very poor economic situation with its well-known national conflict problems. This means that mass migrations are then expected to move towards Europe, as the Middle East or Asian countries are not a first choice for migration. This will also negatively affect the world economy that is now in the second phase of an economic crisis, all based on a QE financial market, which means that's quantitative easing, which all know means printing more money. So the governments are practically living on credit line. A very destructive formula that has to stop. There are ways and means to change and bring real value of money in order for the purchasing power to help the people on a daily basis, the normal people, the normal citizens, those who are hoping that the governments are managing and ruling correctly. Anyway, the reality is that the total money circulating globally, all of it all together, the quadrillions, has no real value more than 10%. That's affecting all the 195 sovereign countries that have been listed as sovereign countries. That is the real problem. Having said this, the main point now is to immediately marginalize the existing military council. Of course, the international media says TMC, which is Transitional Military Council. We do not want a military council to be any transitional government or ruler of Sudan. We want the international community to marginalize them immediately in order to secure a civil government and to avoid an all-out civil war. We want a 100% civil government, transitional for 2 years or more. Thereafter, to have elections free from all corruption and negative influences in order to save the day. Sudan is well known as the breadbasket of the world. It can help economically in many ways, many countries. At the end of the day, a positive change has to be made. A real, better change has to be made. Sudan can help the international community as an additional economic power. It is a powerhouse, well known for that, due to its abundance of natural resources. Therefore, Sudan can help out the international community economically. Not only that, but Sudan will be in a position to help the world financial markets, which includes the IMF, the World Bank, the central banks, and all those who are in debt. And that is the reality. Where professionals of this sector, called economics, understand exactly what this means. This means issuing financial guarantees, papers, instruments backed by its natural resources, which means it has a real value. And then it can be traded in exchange for world peace, world security, and most of all, to try and accomplish what is necessary. Bilateral economic relations will be of positive trade, surpassing hundreds of billions. We all know that. When I say we who understand what this is all about economically. So, the message is peace and not war, and the economic calculations and agreements will give the international stock markets and central banks a fresh breath of economic stability in a global manner. All these unnecessary trade wars and currency wars can be tamed, marginalized, stopped. Inflation can also be reduced due to the fact of printing currency with a real powerful value, thus sending the purchasing power to ease daily life of many citizens worldwide. This vicious circle of trade wars, economic trade wars, currency wars, market wars is not necessary. Peace and prosperity can take place. It just needs the right decision making. The opportunity exists. All it requires is intelligent decision making and sophisticated management. Enough is enough of the QE, the quantitative easing, the printing of more money on a credit line basis, the destruction of so many countries, just because of certain groups wanting to control the natural resources and the flow of cash worldwide, the flow of money. All it requires is the right management of a real civil government, and I'm speaking about Sudan here. And Sudan will be able to assist the world. We all know the strategic natural resources that are in Sudan and how powerful they are. Marginalize the military council before chaos happens, then it's too late, and then you will see that mass migration will go to Europe, and Europe will not be able to handle it because they are in an economic mess. Everybody knows that. They already cannot handle the existing problems, social problems, especially social problems, that have occurred in Europe due to the mass migrations that have come from Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran, and so on, Libya, you name it. Too many lives have been lost and too much sorrow and pain has taken place. It is time to make a decision that will bring a better change to the people of Sudan and the people of the world. History will always remember the good deeds and the good, humane decision making. Let's start a new page. Let's save many lives. Let's do the right thing. That's the good decision making. At the end of the day, we're all going to the graveyard. That's where we all level on the same platform. And good deeds is what counts. Best regards. Wishing all the best of decision making, real decision making, good decision making, and the message I believe is very clear. With all due respect, it's time to really make a positive decision. Respectful regards to all. Abdul Halim Omar Muhammad Ahmed, June 11th, 2019. In the name of the Sudanese people, the Sudanese National Union.